Hey, good morning, and welcome to the 2025 Leadership and Economic Forum hosted by the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce. Appreciate everybody coming here today. Let's give a big shout out to our chamber board for putting this forum on once again. Our goal here is to keep our chamber members and others up to date on local matters that may have impact on our economy and our businesses. I'm John Cassinelli. I'm the chamber board ex officio. I served on the board of directors of the chamber for nearly 10 years, including 7 as the president. I'm the CEO of Cassinelli Landscaping and Construction for over the past 30 years. We're a local contractor and we're celebrating our 50th year this year. I was once ranked the 7th largest in Northern Nevada, not so much anymore, but I'm still in it. So I served on the board of directors of the Nevada Builders for over 20 years, including as the 2003 president, and I continue to serve on their leadership council today. So I grew up in Carson City with my wife. Lived here in Dayton for over 30 years, raised our kids here, and I'm currently the District 1 Lyon County Commissioner out here. So when I ran for that position, I had a lot of things, several issues that were near and dear to my heart that I wanted to take care of and do something about, including smart growth and the Highway 50 corridor that we all travel every day, and the notorious second bridge out here. Those were all things that were real high on my priority list. I'm happy to say that we have made some progress with those items. We're looking forward to 3 new traffic lights out here in the next 12 months on Highway 50 in Dayton. We should have the tradition stoplight in probably by the end of this summer. And then we've got stoplights at 6 Mile Canyon and Occidental that'll be coming next year, so which is desperately needed. Part of my assignment as a commissioner, I serve on the Campo board, the Carson Area Metropolitan Planning and Organization, and also happy to report that we just signed an agreement, Lyon County did, with Campo to begin the planning stages for our second bridge. So we got $1.2 million, and we have a $66,000 match that the county has to put forward, but that's going to get the ball rolling on that second bridge, which is also desperately needed out here. We have the Legacy 49 project, which is this area right out the windows that you see, that future homes, school site, hotel, potentially. So a lot of that is, dependent on getting that bridge in out here. So we also have the Shady Lane Bridge that a lot of us are familiar with. The chamber does the Dayton Valley Days every year. We have that little bridge in downtown Dayton that's been closed for 8 or 10 years, and I've had some discussions with folks at NDOT that said we might be getting that bridge replaced early 2026. So glad to see that happening. It causes a lot of problems with egress during that event. We can't get some of those residents out without bringing them through all the folks there. So what else? We've got Campo. Economic development in our community has always been really high on my list. I'm also helping with the Sutro Tunnel charity with the reconstruction of the Sutro Tunnel, and I'm currently their government affairs liaison. I'm not sure exactly what I'm supposed to do in that position, but our goal there is to preserve that historic Sutro Tunnel site and transform it into a destination for tourism, education, and recreation, and boost our local economy. So we just got, through Travel Nevada, we got just under a $500,000 grant. So there's going to be a lot more good things happening up there at the Sutro Tunnel. If you haven't had an opportunity yet to see that site, I would highly encourage you to do so. We just had a fundraiser event there called the Cards in the Cavern, where we had a poker tournament inside the tunnel, so it's really fantastic to see all the progress that's already been made there. It's quite challenging running a business. A lot of us know that. We just saw our Scooters Coffee here in Dayton close just last week, so it's, it is challenging times, but it's not all doom and gloom. We continue to see several new businesses opening. The Enterprise Drive out there, we've just had a couple ribbon cuttings recently out that way. So there are some good things happening as well. We've had, I also serve on NNDA, and we've seen some interest to the Lakes Boulevard, Dayton industrial area. There's people looking out there. Hopefully we can bring some of those folks in. We've also got 7-Eleven convenience store. My nephew is a big shot with 7-Eleven. I know that they own property in Dayton, so I'd see a 7-Eleven here sooner or later. And also the big truck stop out at the USA Parkway is a 7-Eleven, and it's the only 7-Eleven truck stop on the West Coast. Probably going to be the last one. Chris?
Can you hold a little closer to your mouth, please?
Okay. It gets a little reverb up here. But yeah, that's like a 7-Eleven truck stop. It's not anything that's been seen on the West Coast, and they're pretty common, I guess, on the East Coast, but it's probably not a model that 7-Eleven's going to stick with, but we're going to have one. Right there at the roundabout. If you haven't been out that way. We also have representatives of Waste Management here today. We've got a new transfer station coming soon that Waste Management is putting up in the Silver Springs area, so we're excited to see that. I won't get into a lot of that because I'm sure Mr. Haskin can tell us about some of that stuff. Those of us in Dayton, we're looking forward to the reconstruction of our Dayton Depot at some point. There's probably some developments coming forward on that. As a past president of the Boys and Girls Club of Mason Valley, I'm really excited to report that we have a brand new early learning center going in right here in Dayton that is going to have a groundbreaking probably later this summer. I know it just went out to bid, so looking forward to that. And it is going to have a preschool that will accommodate 65 kids from 6 weeks to 5 years of age, which is another thing that's desperately needed in our area here. We've got a lot of data centers and other things looking at us. I'm sure Andrew will talk to us about that. Boys and Girls Club also has plans after the Early Learning Center for a full gymnasium on that site, which is right out by the Maverick. So a lot of good things are going to be happening out that way. The Board of County Commissioners, we recently have taken some steps to update our building codes, including the adoption of the 2024 International Building Code, 24 Uniform Plumbing Code, and the 2023 National Electric Code. So some of that is going to be continuing probably in the next 2 months. We'll probably have that done. We've also recently amended our Title 15 Development Code to include some requirements on establishing solar projects in the county, as well as some modifications to roof designs on multi-family projects. Our sewer effluent infiltration capacity continues to be an issue in Dayton, but our staff is working really hard to resolve that, and we should have more information late summer, early fall on that. So moving on to our speakers today, and we're gonna just continue with the program, and then when lunch gets here, we'll probably take a little break and have our lunch. And I'm gonna introduce our speakers, but I'm just gonna ask if everyone could hold their questions till the very end. We'll give each speaker a chance to give their presentation, and then we can have question and answer. for everybody. So starting off, we've got our Lyon County Manager, Andrew Haskin. He is the County Manager for Lyon County, brings years of experience in economic development and public service, having previously served on County Community Development Director, and he worked as Northern Nevada Development Authority Executive Director. Andrew holds an MBA from the University of Nevada, Reno, and is committed to supporting sustainable growth, community engagement, and efficient county operations. So, and I've known Andrew probably, 20 years. He was like Eagle Scout mentor for my son when he was in the Boy Scouts. So anyway, Andrew, thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you, John, for the introduction. I was just thinking, it's been a while since I've talked to the Dayton Chamber. I think I might have been the Community Development Director the last time, and that's been 3 years. So, I can't believe it's been 3 years since I've been County Manager. It'll be 3 years here in September. So it's gone by really quick, but very good, very rewarding. I love it here in Lyon County, and I think there's a lot of exciting opportunities here moving forward. I really want to thank Austin and Glen for coming and speaking as well, because it really is a regional thing. Our economy really is a regional thing here in Northern Nevada. This is actually Glen's second week, I believe, on the job as the city manager for Carson City, so congratulations on that. As I mentioned before, I mean, it's definitely a regional approach to our economy here in Northern Nevada. Traditionally, Lyon County has been kind of a bedroom community for some of the other communities around. That has created some challenges for Lyon County, though, frankly, too. And it's a reason that it's something that a priority of mine that I want to work on moving forward as county manager. If you take a look at revenue per capita of all the counties in Northern Nevada, Lyon County is 17 out of 17 counties as far as revenue per capita. And so one of the ways that we can address that is to work to attract economic development, attract new businesses to Lyon County, and to help increase that revenue and help provide services to the citizens of Lyon County. So I think that right now we're kind of right on the edge of a pretty major shift here in the county. We're seeing a lot of activity. We're seeing a lot of things that we haven't necessarily seen before, and I think that you're going to see that continue moving forward. Just here in Dayton, there's quite a few examples. You've got, for instance, the new hardware store, the Ace Hardware Store. It's been open a couple of years now, but that's something that wasn't here in Dayton previously. You've got the Traditions development that's developing a significant amount of commercial and industrial space that I think is going to really change things here kind of in the Dayton area. Just this morning, I received an email from a developer. I don't have specifics, they didn't give me a location, but they were asking some specific questions about zoning and whatnot because they were interested in developing some additional retail space. So I really think that we're going to start seeing some of that migrate out here now that we're the third largest county in the state by population. If you look all around the county, there's different projects going on. John touched on the air park, and there's been some activity out there, and I think we're going to continue to work with different folks out in that area. The county is building a new government complex here in Dayton at the Traditions development. Currently, Lyon County is mostly in lease space, with the exception of utilities and the courthouse. But the courthouse is a 100-year-old building. It's very outdated. It's small, if anybody has been there. And so we're building a brand new, about 30,000 square foot facility here. It'll be Lyon County's most expensive project ever when it's completed. We actually just awarded the construction manager at risk contract at the meeting last week. And it's going to be a pretty impressive project. And I think that that's really going to help other development in that industrial or in that business park take off, and the Traditions business park take off. By the way, while that is the most expensive project in Lyon County history, we've been saving for over a decade to pay for that project, and I'm hopeful that when it all works out, that we will be able to do that without bonding, without taking on any debt, because we have been able to save and manage our finances responsibly on that. So, looking forward to that. The groundbreaking is supposed to take place later this year, hopefully September, October timeframe, and I think the timeframe on that is about 18 months is what we're looking at for completion. So here in about a year and a half, 2 years, we'll have a new building over there. It's going to house the Dayton Justice Court. It's going to house the District Attorney's Office, the Sheriff's Substation here in Dayton, and Human Services. So we're really looking forward to that, and it's definitely needed. By the way, we're looking for a name for that, so if anyone has any ideas, you can either email me or attend the Dayton Citizen Advisory Board meeting and provide that information so we can get that back to the Board of County Commissioners to pick. Let's see here. So kind of just moving around the county and taking a look at, there's a lot of activity heading out east too. You've got the Lyon County side of USA Parkway, and we're seeing a lot of activity in that area. We've got Northern Nevada Industrial Center that is trying to get off the ground and build a new industrial space in the Silver Springs area. You've got Microsoft, which has purchased a large tract of land, actually just on our planning commission last week, or this week. They were doing a master plan amendment zone change for some of the property that they own, and we'll look forward to their project moving forward here. One of the things that Commissioner Cassinelli touched on was that we are seeing a lot of activity from data centers recently. So for those of you that may or may not know, Greenlink North and Greenlink West are actually ending in the Wabusk area in Mason Valley. They end at the Fort Churchill Power Station. So that's connecting Las Vegas to Reno essentially, and Ely to Reno essentially, but by way of Wabuska. There'll be another transmission line that'll go from Wabuska to the Tri-Center and to Reno. That's going to give Lyon County some of the best power infrastructure in northern Nevada, which makes it very attractive for data centers. And so that's been the target of ours. They bring in a lot of investment into the community, don't have a huge impact necessarily on the community, especially nowadays because they're not using as much water as they were at one point. Data centers used to use a ton of water for cooling, but now they've kind of transitioned to an air-cooled model, and so they're not impactful there. And so we're seeing a lot of that activity. In fact, again, on the Planning Commission agenda this last week was a specific plan for a 4.6 million square foot data center in Mason Valley. Of course, we'll have to see where that goes. That still has a long way to go through the entitlement process, but it's just a small example of some of the interest that we're seeing currently right now here in Lyon County. And again, why I think there's a major shift happening, and we're going to start seeing a lot of activity out here. If you look north into Fernley, so actually the Webstront building here in Dayton, when that was built, it was the largest building in Lyon County, a little over 600,000 square feet. But it didn't last very long as the largest because in Fernley they built a larger one that I believe is over 900,000 square feet. And they're continuing to grow out there. So you're seeing a lot of economic development in the Fernley area with Mark IV project and some of the other developers. And so we anticipate that that's going to continue as well, and there's going to be quite a bit of growth. I know that they've talked about the Try-2 concept in the Fernley area, and so we'll just kind of have to see where that goes. I know that's kind of dependent on the lands bill, and we'll have to see where that goes. But let's see, what am I missing on here? Like I said, I just think that there is a ton of opportunity, a ton of things coming our way. Of course, we'll have to see where things go nationally, but I think that right now is really good time in Lyon County, and we're going to start seeing some of that growth and development here, and we can start addressing some of the other challenges. Yeah, I think that's all I got.
Thanks, Andrew. And as Andrew mentioned, we really are an economic community, regional economic community. And that's why I thought it was important to invite our neighbors here today. So our next speaker is Glen Martel. He's been selected. He's 1 week in as the new city manager of Carson City. Carson High School graduate, brings decades of leadership experience, having served as assistant city manager in Missouri City, Texas, the city manager in Live Oak, Texas, and most recently as our CEO of the Nevada Builders Alliance. Former Brigadier General of Nevada Air National Guard. Glen is known for his transparent communication style, strong focus on infrastructure and economic planning, and commitment to public service. I've known Glen for probably over 30 years. We've worked together on a lot of projects in the construction industry over the years, and without further ado, Mr. Martel.
Thanks, John. Thanks for the invitation. Appreciate it. Andrew, thanks for being here. Also good to see you as well. And as Andrew alluded to and John reemphasized, this truly is a regional cooperative effort for what we do in Northern Nevada. And those of you that have heard me talk, when I was in the Nevada Air National Guard, I talked about One Nevada with the Guard. And when I came back to be the Nevada Builders Alliance CEO, I talked about how if our specific cities, our regions are successful, then the larger region is successful, and then the state of Nevada is successful. So I definitely appreciate John's opportunity here to come out and speak with our partners. And just like to thank John and Austin, Austin and Andrew for their cooperation. We actually had a crew out from Storey County just yesterday down, I think, in Carson, looking at our emergency tent that we were getting set up, and our crew was up at Storey County looking at some barriers that we share as regional partners for the Nevada Day event in Carson City. So when you talk about that from an emergency standpoint, that's very important that we have that cooperative effort. Storey County acquired some things through the grants, we've acquired some things through grants, and our teams go across those lines and share those and practice with that. So from an emergency standpoint, I think that's very important. But for the purpose of today, from an economic standpoint, how we get there is also important. When you look at what we share drainages, we share waterways, we definitely share electric infrastructure, we share highway infrastructure. So it's important that we all are talking about the things we're here talking about that you're interested in. So I definitely appreciate that through my career. I do believe that by being good regional partners, we can all be more successful than we would be individually. So I appreciate the support here. And of course, our one missing partner in the Quad County is Douglas County, but appreciate all the effort that we all do together. From Carson City specifically, if you've watched the news there, obviously being the state capital, there's a lot going on. Just this year, there's another bill passed where we still have to get our arms wrapped around it. I have my first meeting with the state tomorrow to talk about that, but when you talk about, most of this property in Carson City being owned by the state, or a good portion of it, that is very important that we have a cooperative effort with our state partners as well. And then in conjunction with that, if you've paid attention to the news in Carson City, there is some talk of what might be a new town square concept to expand the downtown capacity and opportunity in downtown Carson. That requires a lot of partnership work, right? We have some private property owners, we have some city property owners, and we have the state partnership property owners in that partnership as well. And then we're still waiting for a meeting with our federal partners, if you've been listening to that too as well, for what I call the federal building. For those of us who've been around, the old post office on Washington, between Washington and Robinson there, just north of the Nugget in Carson. That federal building hopefully will be on the market for us to look at for the city, to talk about how that might be incorporated into some new re-envisioning of downtown Carson. Not here to predict what that'll look like. I have a lot of people saying, well, it's going to be with this, or going to be this. Nope. We've only heard from the private property owner on their potential concept, or a potential concept for what that might look like. A lot of conversation, as Andrew said, a lot of entitlement process, a lot of public meetings to go through on that. But I'm energized by that because just the interest in downtown Carson City, I think, bodes well for Carson City from an economic standpoint. I think it bodes well again for the region because of that. So when I get outside a little bit of downtown, we look at what's going to start here very soon is East William Street from South Carson Street or Carson Street East to Lampa Lane, just beyond the overpass for 580. That project will be starting. That's a beautification project in partnership with NDOT on that. And that'll be continuing what we've already done on South Carson Street, right? Coming into Carson City with the roundabout at Stewart Street. So I think if you've driven that South Carson Street, those of us that have been here a long time, didn't used to really be pretty, didn't really used to be useful. I personally think it's a really good project. I like the roundabout at Stewart Street. I know that there are differing opinions on roundabouts, but if they're used correctly, I think Stewart Street is a good example. Opportunity to grow that to connect to Curry Street as well. I know, again, artwork can be subjective, but when you look at the artwork, I think it adds a little bit of flavor to Carson City, and it bodes well again for the south end of Carson City with what's going on there. Coming into the center of town, I've already talked about downtown, and then east, right, we'll start, and then looking to the north. We're already talking internally about what North Carson Street might look like here in the near future. So I'll be meeting with the staff on that and our partners there as well, some grant money hopefully to get with that. But that'll essentially take us from William Street and South, or Carson Street north, just past where all the new hotels are going in there, up to the Arco station for those of you that are familiar with North Carson. And what that'll do is continue that new planting theme for Carson City, that new bike access theme for Carson City, the new laneage construction for Carson City, and really looking forward, personally, again, to updating the median islands on North Carson. I come into North Carson when I come into work pretty much every day, and those are outdated. They've been around a while. Great project 30 years or so ago, but they do need to be updated and brought current. So looking forward to that happening as well. On the north end of town, you see a new hotel going in. That continues the theme recently of Carson City being brought current, I think, on their capacity to house not only a lot of workers. Right now we see a lot of workers. They're actually in Lyon County and Storey County constructing a lot of those data centers and the highways and the infrastructure there. They stay in those hotels. You can see a lot of those company trucks there, and some of them even stay over the weekend. So we're excited about that, supporting Carson City going forward. When you look at infrastructure in Carson City, we have the Quill water tank is being rebuilt, refurbished, and modernized on the west side of Carson. That takes care of our surface water from Ash and Kings Canyon, as well as some from Marlette Lake, which we share with Virginia City, and that as well is under construction right now, Marlette Lake. But Quill water tank is being modernized. That'll increase our capacity, not only quality-wise, but more importantly, quantity-wise, to support future development in Carson City and provide our current residents with quality water there. Right now, we're short, no water coming in from Marlette for us right now, but that project is also very important to the region. When you look at that fantastic engineering construction that occurred in the late 1800s with a siphon going underneath what is now Highway 395 from Marlette over to Virginia City is really incredible that it's 150 or so years old right now. Obviously a lot of updating. So they're rebuilding that dam, rebuilding a lot of those water lines up there to provide that capacity over to Virginia City as well as to our treatment plant on the west side. When you look at that kind of stuff engineering-wise on the east side of town where our wastewater plant is, that's also due for an update here in the relatively near future. So you'll be seeing activity out there going, again, to provide capacity for that to go into the river and provide the irrigation that we do with our reclaimed water to some of our businesses and golf courses and schools and the cemetery like that. So good stuff going on the public works side. From a number standpoint, when you add all those things up, Carson City is right now projected to spend somewhere between $45 and $50 million just on those kind of infrastructure things to support economic development and the quality of life, not only in Carson City, but in the region. So I think that's pretty exciting. When you look at service capacity, I mentioned a town square concept before. One concept does have a new city hall in that, which I think is important to centralize our services. Andrew was just talking about services being brought out here to Dayton. I believe it's important to have those services provided in person and as efficiently as possible. So I'm looking forward in some way, shape, or form to updating our city hall structure and how we can provide better services to our residents and businesses in Carson City. One of the things we're doing, talk about awarding CMARs, we're going to do one here probably the end of next month with our board, and that's for our new courthouse construction. So we're looking at moving our clerk recorder out. We're looking at expanding the court capacity within that building and updating some of the security and those kind of things within our courthouse. So that will be under construction later this year as well. And as Andrew said, we're probably about an 18-month program or so on that one as well. So looking forward to that being completed. Here in the real near future, I'm hoping within a month to 6 weeks, you will see a ribbon cutting advertised for our brand new fire station 55. That is the first fire station in Carson City, built I think in 55 years, if I remember right, 54 years, somewhere back 72 or something, so 53 years, I guess. But that'll be, it's absolutely beautiful facility. If you haven't seen it, it's by the corporate yard on Bud Highway there in Carson City. Just got to drive around the exterior of it yesterday on a tour. A great facility that will house our emergency operations center. So John Backadall, our emergency manager, will be housed there. We will have a standalone EOC in that structure. So when something happens regionally, something happens in Carson City, we have that capacity to stand that up and handle all those communications and assist if we need to on a regional basis, and even locally. That'll just a level of service that is not seen in the region. So I'm really looking forward to Fire Station 55 opening up. Be some challenges with the redistricting in Carson City. We'll have the 4 houses at that point, but it is a really nice structure, and looking forward to the service that'll bring to the residents and businesses in Carson City. Our NDOT partners, again, they're always around doing good things. We're looking at a lot of upgraded paving programs. Andrew mentioned Campo. We're looking at, I think, with a good cooperative effort with Lyon County there, going even on Highway 50 east as you go up Dump Hill, as we call it, into Mound House, and along that corridor. There have been quite a few meetings when you look at that corridor, how we might increase safety there, provide some pedestrian crossings, and better access across that particular area of our shared line there. So I think the Campo program, again, is a really good example of how we cooperate regionally and ensure that services and such are provided to all the residents in our region. So I think that's a great opportunity there that I'm hoping comes around in the next couple of years as they go through the public hearing process and look at how we can provide safer, more efficient access in the Mound House region and up the hill out of Carson into Mound House. So I think that's all I really had on my list, John, unless there's any questions for you real quick. I know we'll take questions later, but all right, well, thank you. I'll look forward to lots of questions.
Thank you, Glenn. And looks like we've got our lunch ready, so we're going to take kind of a break to allow everybody to go ahead and get a plate before we move on to Storey County. So it's not a real big group, so I think we can all Carson City, Storey County. So we are using, particularly the Highway 50 corridor, is a big subject. But being assigned on the Campo now. Trust me, I've been pushing that, but it is kind of dependent on NDOT, and we are being told that it could be 2028 and maybe even beyond before we see much improvement there. But some of the things they're talking about is a large roundabout at the 341 at the VC turnoff, maybe some frontage roads, things like that could really improve the traffic flow. One of the things that I'd like to see, and I know we haven't talked about that, one of these days I'm going to bug Andrew and probably my friends over at Campo, but a truck lane going up Dayton Hill, wouldn't that be fantastic? But yeah, I mean, we're talking a long ways out. But so next on our program is our Storey County representative. And everybody, with the Tahoe Regional Industrial Park, they think Storey County, they got the bucks, right? These guys. I think he drove a Porsche here today. I like to tease him about that, but it's not necessarily true. So, but Austin Osborne, he's the county manager for Storey County. With over a decade of experience in county administration. He has served in multiple leadership roles, including Director of HR and Planning, overseeing operations, budgeting, economic development, and land use. He's a certified HR professional SHRM-CP-PHR, and I have no clue what those mean, but he can tell us. But Austin holds a master's degree in organizational leadership from the University of Nevada, Reno. 13 years on the Storey County team. He's deeply committed to improving quality of life and fostering sustainable growth across northern Nevada. So, Mr. Osborne.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for having me here today. I really appreciate it. And presentations today have been very interesting and really enlightening. I don't usually talk about politics during these things, but I do want to disclose that I am a roundabout supporter. I think they're great. So the fact of one going up to Virginia City, I'm in support of that. So hopefully I'm still friends with our folks in here today. Storey County has got a little bit of an inverse situation, and I can talk about finances and things for quite a bit of time, but we're doing fine. I mean, we have positive revenues coming into the county, and a lot of that is because of growth occurring at the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center. And for me to say anything otherwise really would be, disingenuous to the group here. But it's important that people understand the big picture, and everyone knows about Tesla. Everybody knows about, streets are paved in gold or whatever we're doing on our side of the county line. But the reality is I want to talk about, what's going on the back end. Storey County is a famous house in the neighborhood that has been neglected and falling apart for a century or longer. It's that neighborhood or that house in the neighborhood that you're waiting for new folks to move in and, kind of rehab it and build it up and put a foundation under it. That is what we're dealing with across our county, especially in the Comstock. Now, I talked about that a little bit, and what that is as far as budgetary obligations that we have to deal with. So Tesla this year is paying taxes. They've been abated 100% for 10 years. They've been a great partner of the county. We've worked well with them. They've been great, but they've been fully abated. And so we've had to deal with that for 10 years. So now when we get revenue from Tesla, not only are we having to try to get that dealt with in other parts of the county, but we have to also kind of do some catch up for the last decade of things that we've had to provide that we weren't able to quite fill. Tri-Center is growing as we know it. Data centers are the next big thing. Advanced manufacturing is really a big thing. And I'll say, people ask me all the time, regionally, is this good or bad for the region? Whether it's abatements or advanced manufacturing or these big gigafactories. And my honest answer is there's good and bad with anything. If you do nothing, there's good and bad. If you advance and do new things, there's good and bad. But I've been here my whole life from Dayton, and I remember, and I said this before, there was a time when you either went to UNR, you went into construction, a casino, or you left the state, and most of my friends left the state. Fortunately, a few of them are coming back, but it's because of the Teslas, it's because of these companies, it's because of $48 and $60 an hour, it's because of career positions and jobs that have pensions and have 401ks and things like that we never had before. So I'm probably share like anybody in this room, especially if you've been here a long time. Oh, I remember when Dayton Valley Road was 2 lane. I remember when this wasn't all here. I remember when things were easier. They were, but there's opportunities and there's things today. And Reno's growing to be kind of a neat place. And Carson City is beautiful, and there's a lot of growth there. And the Dayton Valley here and everything is really maturing and becoming a really great place. So I want to go back a little bit to obligations, what we have to deal with across our county and where our tax revenues are going from Tesla, Tri-Center, and otherwise. So let's just start with Tri. People don't know, when you build a subdivision or you build a development, typically the developer puts it all together and then they dedicate the roads to the county and the county maintains them thereafter. Pretty good deal. You get tax revenue with the houses or the buildings you built, and then you build and maintain the roads. In our county, we got a contract with Tri-Center LLC that says we have to buy those roads. We have to pay for the infrastructure back, roads, drainages, and other infrastructure. So currently we have accumulated about $48 million worth of debt for all the roads and drainages in the industrial center. And then the master plan that has a little contract clause in it that says you're responsible for up to $90 million worth of infrastructure total. So we have more to come. That means the new companies come and they say, we're going to build a big 2 or 4 lane road to our factory. If it's in that master plan, we have to buy it and pay for it. They're going to build it and then give it to us, and then we have to reimburse them back. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic. So when we look at the money that we're receiving from Tri-Center, every single year we have to put 35 cents net on the dollar back into making that mortgage. And then that money grows. So as the revenues from Tri-Center grow, like the Tesla revenues we got, that 35 cents is on a much bigger number. It's kind of like one of those, I think, an ARM interest only loan or something like that. So it's good for us. It's interest only. It's a good deal because Storey County was bankrupt and was going to lose its countyship back in the 1990s and early 2000s. We're actually going to give it to Lyon County, so sorry. And you would have had a pretty good deal, I think. But anyway, we have to deal with that sort of thing. The next thing is we have, just like what we heard from our other county managers and from our county commissioner, we have things we have to fix, like a justice center. I'm spending, my team and I having to go to our taxpayers talking about why we need to invest in our prisoners. And we're going to have to put $50 million into a new court, into a new jail, and a new justice of the peace court and dispatch center and all those things that go along with it. Because like Andrew talked about, our courthouse from 1875 is beautiful, it's wonderful to work in, it's great and all that, but we can't hold criminal trials in it. Our juries have to go to Carson City because the building's not sufficient. It doesn't have the things that you have to have safety-wise and protecting the defendant, all those sorts of things. We gotta build another courthouse. And the jail was built in the 90s as a temporary building for the 1990s. It's 2025, it's still being temporarily used. And it's literally sinking into the mud and ripping itself apart. The doors don't work, and I mean the jail cell doors, and there's problems. And there's other things that I'd like to talk about that are really fun and juicy, but there's security, I can't. But we're dealing with that. So we have to replace these facilities, and we're doing that now with the money that we're getting from these companies out at Tri-Center. So you have $50 million there. Then we look at roads. We have right now, our road CIP is $9 million for this year. And we're kind of like Lyon County. We're so spread out. We recently put $5 million into a road that serves 1,600 people. And then the other road going into that same neighborhood, because it's like a driveway, like a U-shape, that's another $10 million going to 1,600 people. Got to do it. It has to be done, but that's not exactly the scale that the engineers look for when they put a POD together. But that's what we have, and that's what we're doing. Then we got all of our other roads. We got $6 million out of Tri-Center, $5 million in the Highlands, $5 million in the Highlands. I just told you about that. Oh, and we have 2 $6 million roads that are being built literally as we speak. They are being prepared to be dedicated to the county. So we're going to take on $12 million worth of new roads. So, we'll work it out, but it's a challenge. Offices, I'm working in the courthouse. It's neat. I love it. But I am actually right now moving some of my staff into a hotel because we can't figure it out. There is nowhere else to build between the historic district and the spaces and these antiquity and buildings of antiquity and everything. There's no place to look. We've gone everywhere we could. We're renting out a hotel room and maybe 2 temporarily until we get some of these other facilities built, like what we're hoping will happen and be neat. The school district is building a unified school at the high school, and they're going to leave their 2 schools they have in Virginia City, and one of them will be probably very likely become the newest Storey County complex. It's a pretty decent school built in 1937, which is really new compared to 1850. And it was actually one of those Recovery American programs in the 1930s. They overbuilt it, so it's actually a pretty good building. But we'll have to put $10 million into that too, just to get it up to where it's safe and right. The elementary school is brick. It looks great. It was built in the 70s. If you kick it, your foot would go right through the fake brick. And apparently half the buildings I went around the back and they're trailers. I didn't know that. So they're going to go to exit 23 at Waste Management, so you guys will be good. And then, we're going to have to figure out what to do with that facility. So probably tear it down and build something else. We did get a Lockwood Senior Center. Like Lyon County, we're spread out kind of 2 halves. I think you have 5 halves. But we finally have a senior center, community center, child center, and food bank in Lockwood, which is an hour away from Virginia City. So the 1,500 people that live there can have basic services and not live in a place that is not to modern specifications. So that's pretty done with $5 million, and we got a $2.5 million federal grant for that. I won't point her out unless she wants me to, but our grant administrator is in the audience and goes to Washington, and every time she goes to Washington, she drags a bunch of money home in a bag. It's been really wonderful, and that's why we're able to bridge the gap on some of these projects like that. We have to build a sheriff substation out at Tri-Center, and out at Tri-Center we have a fire district. We also provide at no cost highway patrol facilities. We provide at no cost Nevada State Health facilities, and we provide at no cost, there was another one. I went blank. It's another state, oh, it's the health department. So the health department, the Nevada State Health Department operates out there, and we also do out of that fire station mutual and mandatory aid agreements or automatic aid agreements with the fire district to provide all of the services on Interstate 80. There's some services provided in Fernley, and then also on the other side of the county, we provide some services in the Silver City area, as well as some other pockets here in Mark Twain and Dayton is through mutual aid and mandatory, or I always say that, automatic aid with fire in Lyon County and Washoe County. So that's a little bit what we have on those things, and then there's the big one. This is where there's $60 million worth of problems that need to be fixed on our side of the system, and that is the Marlet Water, Virginia City water system. Not only does that affect Virginia City, Gold Hill, and American Flat, but also we are the water system for Silver City and Lyon County, always have been since the beginning of time. And we have to put $60 million into that. And that includes water that comes up from a little lake above Lake Tahoe, as you described earlier, goes underneath 580 at 800 PSI and then sucks its way back up to Virginia City like siphoning gas out of your car. Those siphons, there's $25 million just to fix the ductile iron on that, which blows out all the time. There's $6 million just to run a water line down to Silver City, which blows out. There's a famous picture I have of a huge geyser. That is when that line blows out. That's what that looks like. And it's the only water supply for Silver City. And this line is the only water supply for the entire Comstock. There's no wells. The water below us is deeper than, I don't know how deep, but pretty deep. Probably as deep as the Sutro Tunnel. So, you know, that's the kind of stuff we're dealing with. We have federal appropriations that our team has gotten, the federal government, all three, the two senators and our congressmen have been wonderful in helping us with these things, but also we're having to put county money into these just to try to keep this thing afloat and, you know, and make this thing work. So those are some projects we're working on right now. And just as a rough number here, without getting into a lot of minutia, it's about $263 million worth of problems that we have to fix. Not all due right now. This is over 50 years, over 20 years, over a period of time. But it is something that we have to look at in our budget as what's coming in the future when we look at, oh, all this money is coming in from Tesla, we're rich. No, we're not rich. It's not that much money. It's about $15 million, which is a lot. But it's not the 50 and 60 that some folks in the region are like, oh, just the pipeline of money has just got to be unbelievable. No, it's good. We're being able to pay our bills and take care of things for the first time. We are working with Lyon County, with Andrew and his team on the Mark Twain area, Dayton Valley area drainage master plan with the Carson Water Subconservancy. That is a great water mitigation project through flood mitigation. And there's some lands bills involved with that for some upstream detention and some other things. So we're really happy with our partnership with Lyon County on that project as well as others. And then we have some other stuff like, trying to get a cemetery fixed that we're dealing with. And so that's a little bit there on the fiscal side. And then I'm going to come in for a landing here on kind of two things. One is abated projects into as housing. We, for decades, since I've been with Storey County, people are like, you need to do something about housing. We have some challenges with topography. We have challenges with some things in the past that the county was not really into housing in the early days, but we've had a lot of leadership changes and we've been pushing real hard to try to get some kind of residential growth in the county, both on the I-80 side as well as 50 side. And so to start off with, which is not housing, we do have a daycare, by the way, out at Tri-Center now. It's got about 200 spaces for kids, small strides. They've been really great to work with. And then that ties into, we have about 600 to 800 units right now in the industrial park that are extended stay hotels, like you were talking about, sir, with, you know, pots and pans and kitchens and things like that. That's getting 1,600 trips off the road every day. People live into those things while they're working out at the industrial park. We got an RV park out there too, about 150 spaces, and a very, very astute liquor store. The other one is next to a marijuana dispensary, so guess where all the fights and problems are. We have that going. The next thing we looked at is we did update our master plan in 2024. Our prior master plan and the current one has a room for about 1,900 acres, let's say, to be safe, out at Painted Rock for residential growth, to be a mixed-use community. You're probably talking about 30 million people, 30,000 people that would be able to live at that community. And then most recently in 24, we updated the master plan to accommodate housing on the Highway 50 corridor, about 2,500 acres that would supply about as many houses as are needed for the industrial center employment today, which is about 25,000 people out at Tri-Center. Obviously, this wouldn't be built tomorrow. It'd be over a 20-year period of time. We're talking with the governor's office and others about, you know, infrastructure money and helping get that middle mile connected to Highway 50. And it would be similar, probably housing like you see in the Dayton area, you know, somewhat stucco, you know, suburban type of housing for workforce folks on our side of the county line. We know there's challenges with that, with water and sewer and other things like that. We know that, but we're doing the best we can to work with folks that know how to do this stuff to try to get something like that online and get people off the interstate and over a little bit on this side here to distribute that load. And it might help you guys too here in trying to get people maybe out of this side of the river to the other side, and people that are working out at the industrial center. We have substantially reduced all of our codes and restrictions on everything residential. Zero setback residential. You can climb through houses in our county. We have accessory dwelling units. Now they want to do, the commissioners want to do it for all zones. We allow tiny houses. We allow small houses, which is 401 square feet. There is a difference in the code. We allow high density residential in almost all places that are populated in the county except the Highlands and Mark Twain. That would be more suburban type. We have gone through everything you can think of with residential just to create increased density, reduce size, allow people to build inexpensively. We allow people to live upstairs and work downstairs and do multifamily. I mean, everything you can think of in the modern housing world, you can do in our county in a lot of different places. All the fees for residential, we are working on right now almost reducing or eliminating all fees for residential permits as much as possible, almost down to like nominal amounts like $5, $25. It'll be subject to board approval. We're expecting to be in about 9 months, doing everything we can to try to encourage people to build in Storey County and get some houses, not only in our suburban areas, but in Virginia City where there's gentrification happening with costs, trying to allow people to work there and teachers and things like that to be able to afford a house in town where prices now are pushing $600,000 and $700,000 plus. So I'm proud of my commission for that. They're very progressive ideas on trying to get these things off the ground. Last but not least, I want to talk about a bill that we had, and then I'm going to land. It is Senate Bill 69 in the legislature. It was approved after a lot of work. Everything that I just got done talking about, nobody knows about, or very few people, and then nobody wants to talk about when they're approving a massive gigafactory that's abated for 10 years and there's going to impact the region. And we worked with the governor's office, with the governor's office of economic development, legislators from the north and south. Clark County has been very good to us into this region with the legislative matters. And this bill will now require large gigafactories that get $3.5 and $1.0 billion abatements for 10 years. That means 100% abated. They will have to come to the local jurisdiction, like the folks you see up here, and say, we want to come to your county. We're going to be abated for 10 years. What can we do to build a contract with you for that period so we can offset the costs that you are going to endure for providing us roads, transportation, police, fire, dispatch, all those things. And they now they're bound by the local government to have a contract and be able to come up with a negotiated agreement that helps offset those costs. Then that company could go ahead and move to the state and get those abatements. And then after that 10-year investment period, of course, that company would be paying those taxes. I've always said we're the first domino that fell in the abatement world. Lyon County is absolutely next. Burnley is right up there with them. And now we're hearing about these companies coming in places like Pahrump and other places in the state. So we're very excited about Senate Bill 69 and appreciate the governor and tremendous support that we got in the legislature, both Democrat, Republican, North, South, rural and urban. Very exciting stuff. So that is all I have. I appreciate it and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Austin. So, yeah, I used to like to tease Storey County about the roads paved with gold, but obviously you can see that that's not necessarily the issue, the reality. But yeah, and it's concerning to hear about the doors of the jail. It's a good thing you just have like breach of peace and drunken disorderly. That's what. No, just kidding. But we talked about, again, regional. One thing that we all have in common, Carson City, Lyon County, well, Central Lyon, and Storey, we all just had our fire chief retire, right? I mean, so yeah, so very similar issues that we have. So we're gonna go ahead and open it up to Q&A for a little bit. If anyone has questions for these gentlemen, I can run the mic out to you and just raise your hand and we can dive right in. Anyone? Oh, yep, we got one.
I know the first light that is happening on 50 is going in at Traditions. Will the speed limit be changing?
So that's an excellent question. I'm not sure what the plan is with the speed limit with that particular light. I'm not sure what the speed limit is, the plan is with the speed limit on that particular light. I don't believe it's intended to change in the short term on that. But I know when the light gets put in further east, I believe at Fort Churchill, there has been some talk about changing the speed limit there and lowering it, I think to 55 is what the plan is currently.
Yeah, I believe that was what I heard as well. It's 60 miles an hour out there right now. When the lights come in, it should be 55, but there was talk about Mound House changing to 35 miles an hour. That has kind of been scrapped. At least that's my understanding. So, anyone else? Gotta have some questions out there.
All right, I got one. I don't need a microphone. I think it was Andrew that mentioned we're going to have transmission lines coming in from Ely and another place to support the data centers. What are the power sources that are going to be feeding those transmission lines, and will they be able to handle the electric load?
Gotcha. No, that's a good question. So the Greenlink project was actually something that was mandated on NV Energy by the legislature, and it's more to move power around the state. So obviously right now, NV Energy is exploring a bunch of different options with regards to power generation. The timelines for some of these projects are getting extended out because of the availability of electric generation and electric transmission. One of the things that the county, and I was going to touch on this and forgot, but one of the things that the county is exploring right now is the creation of a general improvement district to generate our own power for the Northern Nevada Industrial Center. I don't know where that's going to go. We're still kind of in the due diligence phase, but it's an excellent question about power availability. Something else that we're seeing a lot of, and Commissioner Cassinelli touched on this a little bit, was on solar projects. We've seen a lot of interest for solar projects on federal land in Lyon County and on private land. We just passed a new ordinance that increased some setbacks from residents and whatnot, residents and streams and rivers and that type of thing. And so we're kind of waiting to see where that all goes. I think there was a dozen solar projects that were kind of proposed on BLM land in Lyon County. and I think it was close to 30,000 acres of land, but mostly in the southern part of the county. So I imagine that's some of the renewables are going to be part of that now. But you know, that's an excellent question.
All right, we got.
I don't need to mic either. My name is Jim Kepler. I'm part of the ownership of this golf course. First of all, I want to thank you for coming out here. The question I have, and since you're on every committee in the county and in the Western United States, so maybe I could put it right to you. We're trying to figure out how this development over here and all the new housing going in all around here is obviously going to be good for us, good for the community, and good for all the businesses. We came here years ago, there was 3 bars, and they were very fun to go to, but that's all it was. That's it, there was 3 bars. Affluent plan, you're getting pretty much squared away now? You get the big thing all figured out?
So, yeah,
I want this question, but I'm
so like I said earlier, staff's working on it. I'll let Mr. Haskin speak to that.
No, that was an excellent question, and it was something I actually had meant to touch on a little bit in my talk. I knew I was forgetting something. So anyway, last October we found out that we had an issue with our effluent disposal at Aspen Creek. The county had built some rapid infiltration basins that were meant to take the effluent from the plant expansion at the Rolling A sewer treatment plant. Currently, the county produces about 920,000 gallons of effluent a day. Or not the county, but Dayton alone, Dayton specifically, produces about 920,000 gallons of effluent a day. The expansion at Rolling A was supposed to be able to take that capacity up to 1.4 million gallons a day, and that's what the Aspen Creek rapid infiltration basins were designed to handle. But we noticed there were some issues with it. We had another engineer take a look at it. They provided us a report that said it was closer to 350,000 gallons a day. We've since done quite a bit of testing on it. We think that that capacity is probably closer to about 500,000 gallons a day, right? And so we're working on that. But if you combine at the 350,000 gallon limit, if you take a look at just that capacity and our other disposal sites, we were pretty much at capacity in the wintertime. Now in the summertime, the golf course takes a lot of the water, about 500,000, a little more than that, about 500,000 gallons a day. But the golf course can't water in the wintertime, at least not every day. And so it created some challenges for us. So like I said, we started doing studies. We took a look at what the actual capacity is. We've been working on re-rating the Aspen Creek facility. Like I said, we're thinking that that's probably going to be close to 500,000 gallons a day there. And then we're taking a look at what the long-term solution is on that. So the difference between 350 and 500,000 gallons a day buys us a bit of time on that because, typically...
We talked before about in the winter we're going to go on our lakes early in like November because we don't water much that time of year, and then we can take much more than water if they need to. My real concern is when are these people going to be starting building over here? Are they allowed to build already? Have they got everything approved by you guys? It's a little holding it up still.
We don't have any application from them currently on
No homes out here?
correct.
I think projects on our books.
No, again, I mean, they submitted an application. It was a tentative parcel map, but and I think that was
Has it been
approved, but
finalized yet?
nothing's been finalized as far as I know.
Okay.
So,
That's what we're looking for, homes, buddy.
sure. Get you.
Homes
Yep.
and bodies.
Anyway, so there's been some rumors around a bit about the effluent, and I'll just kind of address that here for this group. Last October, when we got that initial report, we had to put a pause on building permits for about a 2 to 3 week period while we kind of came up with a temporary plan on how we were going to address that and what our steps were moving forward. We were still taking in permits, but we were not issuing those permits, so we would still review them. But that was only for a 2 to 3 week period. After that, we were able to open it back up and take permits again. There's kind of a rumor out there that there's still a moratorium on building. That's not true. We're still, actually, This year, I just talked to Director Henderson this morning. We're actually up 10% on the number of houses this year over last year in Lyon County that were being built. 10% on the stick-built side, 6% overall if you throw in manufactured homes. So the number of permits are actually increased year over year, even with that 3-week pause. So just want to kind of dispel that rumor. We're still issuing permits. We are currently working with NDEP to allow us to continue to issue final maps. NDEP had rejected a final map based on a couple of things dealing with the effluent. We're appealing that decision, and we're awaiting that outcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a clarification, Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're a single residential builder, you got one home, you don't have a problem. It's the big subdivision maps, the final maps that are being scrutinized a little more.
Correct.
Yeah, so if you're working on a home project or even a small TI or something for a business, you're gonna be okay. Speaking of permits, the Carson City they've had the 3% residential cap in place for many years, and that's working really good for them. And
Yeah, so thank you. Our board just passed their last meeting on 3% growth management ordinance again. And again, I think that's a compliment to the board and going back about 30 years now in Carson City with that growth management ordinance. So they bring forth, how many people have come into town, they look at our water capacity, they look at our sewer capacity, and then they pick a number. And it can be wherever they choose to use it. It's been 3% for as long as I can remember. We've never hit that number. We've come close a couple of times, never hit it. And the board did, just here a couple weeks ago, pass that. So again, looking forward to what comes in, but starting off like a strong year as well as Andrew said he was, but we've never hit it. So I'm not worried about that, but we're tracking. Thank you.
yeah, and we historically, Lyon County residential permits is roughly 200 annual. Yeah.
I think we were like 268.
268 last year. So yeah, everyone thinks the growth is just out of control, but I mean 268 residential permits per the whole county is really not that. And you guys, Storey County, they really impressed me. You said you processed how many building permits in a month?
Well, that number was for everything, so, when but for
TIs and small stuff.
new residential's been running about 40 to 50 a year in the county.
Yeah, 40 to
For
50.
our size is pretty good. It's not,
But you said you processed how many in 1 month? That was like,
oh, that one, the last one, we got 2,000 business licenses, and then down there, 2,000, that's the number, permits, or just down
Yeah.
last month down there at the industrial center.
yeah. You guys have a pretty fast turnaround time on your,
We guarantee 30 days.
30 days.
For a building permit, and I guess, you want me to talk about this?
sure, yeah. 30-day turnaround is pretty good for those of us in that.
We do, so everyone can hear what I'm saying. Yeah, we do a guaranteed 30-day building permit and 7-day grading permit. How we do that is people ask, it's not about any secret sauce, it's our team. In fact, this morning at 7, our building, fire, planning, economic development, myself, we all meet, and to keep everybody coordinated, we go through every single permit and every company that's under construction in the county. It's fun times. And then we go through and see if there's any issues. And what that does is it keeps, when the fire district says, geez, we went ahead and did an inspection on this property, building can say, oh, good, I had an inspector doing that, gonna be there tomorrow, I'll call him off on that, and it's done. What happened before we did those meetings is sometimes a building inspector might go in and do a fire inspection, and then fire doesn't know it, then fire comes and does an inspection, and now you got 2 weeks of people battling each other, trying to get something fixed or figure out whose jurisdiction it is. We don't have that. We talk, we communicate all the time, and that way we can meet those deadlines. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a great program. Something Lyon County, not to diss on my own county, but that's something we could look at doing. Kind of reminds me of way back in Carson City, we had the one-stop shop. We go in and get a permit. Sometimes one day, walk it through the process. But any other questions out there? We got one. I'm going to come around to you.
I actually probably don't need a microphone either.
Okay.
So Austin, you mentioned 0 setbacks in your residential building, which actually shouldn't be surprising given Main Street on Virginia in Virginia City, right? There's 0 setbacks. But are you concerned? Are there fire mitigations for residential?
Yeah, the question is, are there concerns of fire mitigation with 0 setback residential? You look out all over the United States, there's 0 setback residential. New York, Boston, Virginia City currently, even Carson City has some, attached units. So of course, yeah, fire would have to come in, make sure they're meeting fire code. There's firewalls and separations and things like that, how they do that. But that's not only allowed in Virginia City in the historic area, we encourage it in the master plan where for new planned unit developments to have mixed use communities. It means on the outside of your community, you have kind of suburban growth. In the center of your community, there was a question in here, how do you get more people to live in a community and get houses going? It's you try to create a little city and has some shopping and has some economic development and some things happening, and then people want to live in a high density around that area, and then it becomes lower density as it goes out from that point. But the point of that whole thing is you want to get that commercial use in there to try to pay for the cost of residential. That's why Reno, Sparks, Washoe can be able to pull that together, because you have people shopping and living and buying their stuff there and paying sales tax. I know sometimes there's challenges with the budget right now, but you want to have a mixed use, and we think that will help get that density in there, that will help encourage that commercial growth. And yes, there's fire mitigation. Long answer to a simple question.
Yeah, sometimes those shared walls or 0 lot lines, they can really be scrutinized by insurance companies, but if they're done right, it's a great development tool. Anybody else out there? Any questions for any of these gents? Yeah.
Just for any of you, we've talked about the Sutro Tunnel and kind of the tourism draw, working with Travel Nevada. Do you see any future opportunities for your areas for something like that to help draw on those dollars from destination plans or of that sort?
Yeah, actually, I've had that conversation already a little bit in Carson City. Because again, looking at it from a regional perspective, the history here alone is incredible, let alone when you talk about our natural resources and what you can do. So in Carson City specifically, what I've asked is starting to work with our chamber, our Downtown Business Association, our Visit Carson City folks, to kind of coordinate those efforts just a little bit better, get out on social media in a coordinated fashion. They all do great jobs individually, but I think when we add that power together, it'll really do that. I like your comment in that happy to reach out with our partners here in Lyon and Storey as well and expand that outreach to coordinate those efforts. Because as Austin just said, the whole idea, if we can get somebody here for the weekend, they're paying those taxes, right? We get the room tax, they're gonna fill up their gas, they're gonna buy the dinner, they're gonna buy their drinks, hopefully not end up in the prison or a jail cell with no door. But those are the kind of things we need to have to provide the services that we want as residents in our communities. So I think regionally we could certainly expand that in Carson City. We're looking at that right now, yes.
Anything to add? You got something to add? Awesome.
I would agree with that. As if you can make that a destination point, I mean, I don't want to say a bed and breakfast of a site, and that would generate those revenue dollars for Lyon County. It's a small impact, but it is just part of the overall. You got the train, you have the Sutro Tunnel, you have Virginia City, you have downtown Dayton. I know you guys are working on rebuilding the Dayton Depot down here, the train depot. All those things come together. It's part of a holistic package. We've made some comments about, the Sutro Tunnel does end up in Virginia City, so it might be an opportunity for some transit or something to get back and forth from town on some kind of a rail car. Maybe, never know. Thank you.
Yeah, we have such a unique history here. It's, we need to embrace that and utilize it.
Yeah, I'd like to ask a little bit more about the second bridge. It's my impression that it'll be out you would go out towards the ranchos at the end of the road and then over the river. So how soon would that happen, and who owns the land currently? Is it privately owned, and is it a done deal? Do you have a path? Because that's something that's very concerning. The more and more people that live here, you know, if something were to happen, how would we get out?
Yeah, thank you. I live in the ranches. I've lived out there for 26 years, and when I ran for commissioner in 2016, that was one of my reasons for running, is I wanted to see that bridge, and I thought I was going to get lynched when I brought it up, honestly. Still might, but yeah, the planning phase right now, there's some preferred locations, and I'll let Andrew talk to that a little bit more, but we think we know the best location, but that's what this study that I talked about, the funding for, that's what they're going to identify, is we'll probably look for 2 preferred locations, and I think there's 2 or 3 right now, but the land is privately owned. I believe Vidler Water owns the area where the Chaves crossing would potentially be, but and then the BLM has the land where the arterial connector road would be connecting with Dayton Valley Road, but I'm going to let Andrew handle that one.
Actually, that's pretty spot on. So the feasibility, the study that we're doing with Campo is actually a feasibility study to try and knock out a lot of the pre-requirements to try and get grant funding for the actual project. A few years ago, the Board of County Commissioners had picked a preferred location, and that was at the Shavs Road area. There is a tentative map for Aspen Creek that was the Aspen Creek development, not to be confused with our rapid infiltration basins, that was approved that showed a roadway for the bridge on the north side of the river. And that same developer actually owns a small piece on the south side, and then, as Commissioner Cassinelli mentioned, Vidler Water owns the kind of the piece in between there and where it would connect at Dayton Valley Road. Ultimately, what we would like to see is to have that road wrap around and actually connect with the industrial park here. I think that would be really beneficial to try and get some of the truck traffic off of Dayton Valley Road. But that's kind of a longer term project. There's some drainage that has to be addressed as a part of that, and the roadway is pretty expensive. I mean, we're looking at probably $2 million a mile without the drainage to try and build that roadway. It's through BLM land. It was part of the reason that we included those BLM parcels in our lands bill that we're looking to bring forward, and so all that is just going to take some time. But hopefully that answers your question a little bit.
How long a time?
How long a time on the BLM piece, or how long a time on the bridge?
Or we can drive on it.
Okay, yeah. So on the bridge piece, I mean, I kind of see that happening in phases. So the bridge will probably connect at the end of Dayton Valley Road, and then the rest of the road will come later. I don't have a time estimate as to when that bridge will be completed. A lot of that's going to depend on the outcome of the feasibility study. Figure out if we have to acquire any additional right of way or what that looks like, and kind of go from there. And then we would take a look at applying for federal grants to try and get that completed. There's a lot of federal money for that type.
So you're talking years.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take at least a year just to do the feasibility study. Yep.
I'm saying 5 to 7 years. I want to see it done before I'm out of office. But yeah, the bridge is, we know that bridge is, it's absolutely necessary for us out here. And with all of the, fires and disasters that we've seen in particularly Northern California and stuff, there is, even with Doge and everything, there has still been a lot of those types of projects that take, priority at the federal level. So there is money out there. I think it's still available that we can hopefully get. That first phase, what that looks like, and I know a lot of my neighbors out there are not happy about it, but Dayton Valley Road, I mean, Mr. Kepler was here, Eddie Holt's here. We all worked on this golf course 30 years ago in this development. My company planted all the trees out here on the course before it was open for play. We knew back then that Dayton Valley Road was the connecting arterial road for this area, whether people like that or not. And that's why it was moved away from the schools. And that's why it's 4-lane with sound walls and designed for 40,000 cars a day. I mean, look at Arrowhead Drive in Carson City, how much traffic that gets, and that's just a 2-lane road. This one was built for that traffic, and it will eventually, out at the end, it will tie into that connector road. So that's the vision, that's the hope. So, but yeah, it could take a little while. But we have the ball rolling now. We've got that 1.2 million contract with Campo, so things are, they're moving along. It's at least it's started. The process has started. So. Any other questions out there? All right. Well, let's give these gentlemen a round of applause. Thank you all for coming today, and I'm sure if anyone thinks of a quick question, some of us will be hanging around still. So, but thank you very much, and thanks to the Dayton Chamber, and thanks to the golf course staff as well. Appreciate it.